Guys, so today I wanted to talk about the Idaho University murders, or the University of Idaho student murders. And as you know, there are 4 students that were murdered on November 13th. So initially, there are some people of interest that came out as far as the internet goes. So the police have since come out and did a press conference, and they now say that the 2 surviving roommates were not involved. A man seen in the grub truck video was not involved. And a private party who drove Kaylee and Madison home was not involved. And originally, the police said they didn't feel there was a threat to the community. They felt like it was a crime of passion, is what they initially said. But since then, they are kind of giving a different vibe. They're acting like maybe they kind of have no clue who did it. So they recently said they're going to have a very heavy presence around the University of Idaho after the holiday break in light of the killings of 4 students. I guess because a lot of the kids are going home for the holidays. They'll have patrol officers and troopers. But I guess the look of them will make people feel better, but the way this murder went down, the highly patrolled streets and stuff probably wouldn't have helped anyway, because this person was in their house and nobody had time to call 911. They feel as though the victims were surprised in their sleep, because that kind of would make sense, because you think nobody heard anything. You would think if someone was getting murdered in the room next to you, that you would call 911. And I don't get especially the boyfriend and girlfriend, because they would probably be sleeping in the same room. And how could one get killed and the other one not know it? I don't get it. But they're still wanting tips, and they now have a timeline of when they all came home. So at 1 a.m., the first people home for the night were the 2 surviving roommates. So my initial thought was one of the surviving roommates did it, and I had heard something about one of them being unconscious, but that was an internet rumor apparently. So then at 1:45, Kaylee and Madison came home, and they're the ones that you can see on the video with the street food vendor. And then at that same time, Ethan and Xana came home from a fraternity. I guess a fraternity party. So then the next morning at 11:58, so that's 10 hours later, the 911 call was placed from inside the house by one of the surviving roommates' phones, and they reported an unconscious person. And then the police arrived and found 2 victims on the 2nd floor and 2 victims on the 3rd floor. They were stabbed multiple times and were likely asleep during the attack. They're going to put all of their resources into investigating these murders. No suspects have been named or arrested. So, my thought is, like, if the police do have an inkling of who did this, I wish they would just tell us, because I know the police can't tell everything they know, but there's really conflicting ideas and stories on whether there's a threat to the community or not. So my thought on this case at first was, I just felt like a woman did it. It just seemed like something a crazy, jealous woman would do. You know what I mean? Because don't you think, like, a guy... I mean, I know, serial killers are men usually. But I feel like a guy would maybe more have just, like, one intended victim, and the others would die if they got in his way. But a girl, I could see her more, I could see a woman more being jealous of a group of people and not liking a group of people. Whereas a man, I don't see a man, like, targeting a whole group. And I feel like he would, like, if he liked one of the girls, I feel like he would just go after that girl. And then if that guy, tried to intervene, then he would have to kill him too. But if the others are asleep, I don't see the point of why you want to kill all of them. So I definitely feel that the killer knows all 4 of the victims. It's possible that he knew the other surviving roommates and didn't like them either, but I've heard their doors were locked, so he didn't get the chance to kill them as well. But it just takes, like, a lot of nerve to be going into a house, if it's random and you don't know anything about the house or how it's laid out, and just killing or whoever you come across. So that's what makes me think it's definitely somebody they know. And I definitely feel, for some reason, I feel like it's a woman. Of course, I have no idea. And a lot of people say that stabbing 4 people would take a lot out of you physically, and that a woman couldn't probably physically do it. And that might be the case. I don't know. I picture some crazy woman doing this. Some, like, jealous woman who's, like, wish she was a part of their friend group. And, of course, if it is random, it seems scarier if it's random, because he really could just do this again at any time. So there is a big threat to the community, but hopefully the cops kind of know who did it, but they aren't telling us. I know sometimes if there's not enough evidence against somebody, but they think they might know who did it, they will have that person under surveillance and be watching them. And they're kind of, like, waiting for them to do something that would incriminate them. So hopefully that's what's going on. I do find it odd there's no cameras, like security cameras, in that neighborhood. So hopefully there is some surveillance cameras and they can catch this guy or girl. So I just wanted to update on this case, and I'll see you in the next one.
You told your friend you're not okay, and tell me what's wrong and why you never said you felt that way. Guess you're trying to stay strong and fake a smile until I look away. But I've known you too long, it hurts to watch your blue eyes fade to gray as you fade